right, the start of the presidential primary and caucus season is well underway, with California's primary elections quickly approaching this week. Here to talk about the elections and how they can affect the economy is the president and CEO of Wilsey Asset Management, Brent Wilsey. Brent, good morning. Great to see you.
Good to be here.
This is a high-stakes game, and there's a lot of money involved.
There really is. I keep hearing from people like, gosh, I'm getting inundated with ads on TV, on Facebook. I mean, and they are, because actually since 2012, political ad spending has increased by 27% per year. And this year, including the primary and the election, they're looking at spending $10 billion. Now, that is just huge compared to past
And that's just Mike Bloomberg.
Pretty much. Well, now Tom Steyer's gone, so Mike is down a little bit. But yeah, $10 billion. Now, if you look at the last presidential election back in 2016, it's up 59% from then, when they spent $6.3 billion. So you are seeing a lot more. And one thing I tried to find, I couldn't find it, was how much is being spent on the mailers. I mean, my mailbox is stuffed full with mailers, but I couldn't find the exact number on that.
Yeah, we've got a whole pile of those mailers over there.
Yeah.
Liz brought in from her mailbox.
Yes.
So I think a lot of this has to do, you're talking about these increases. With the advent of social media, we're seeing a lot of social media ads, like on Facebook.
Yes, we really are. I think just digital, as they call it, it's $1.6 billion is going to be on digital, which is Facebook, YouTube, all these different ones here. But the big question comes, and now because so much is being spent, is it helping the economy or hurting the economy?
Good question.
And I'm surprised to see, I mean, $10 billion just in spending on advertising. That doesn't include all the events and everything else. It has been said now that perhaps it moves the GDP by 0.1%. Not a lot, but it's now having an effect on that. And the concern people have, well, is it good or bad? Well, that is a good side. The bad side with presidential elections is sometimes people get frozen. Businesses get frozen. They don't want to make a decision on what to do, where to spend money for capital or plan a vacation, because of the fact they're concerned, what if the wrong person gets in, unless you have a real decisive person that's going to win the election for president.
If President Trump were to win re-election, are there specific sectors we should look at investing in?
There really are. There's two different things you have to prepare for. And again, no one knows who's going to win in November. But if you do believe that President Trump is going to win, you want to look at such stocks, and again, defensive stocks, which are kind of pricey, but that's a place we know is going to do well. Banking, energy, and also manufacturing would be areas that you don't want to have your money invested into if you are convinced and certain that President Trump is going to be reelected.
Okay, let's say one of the Democratic candidates should win the election in November.
This is a little bit harder because we don't know who it would be, and would you have Bernie Sanders or Michael Bloomberg? It could be a little bit different, but what you do want to realize is that policies will change. And what I'm actually recommending is that if you do believe a Democrat's going to win, I'm not trying to be political here, you probably want to short the market, because the pro-business will change. So I think shorting our market makes sense. Also, you want to go to cash, short-term bonds, and I usually don't recommend international investing, but I think there could be better markets around the world than our market if a Democrat gets elected for the next maybe year or two until we kind of figure out what's going to go on with that.
Bernie Sanders is very extreme, extremely left. If Bernie Sanders were to win election, what do you see happening in this country?
Everything's going to change. I mean, we're going to go from being pro-business to pro, and I don't want to use the word socialist, but things are going to change to where, he wants Medicare for all. He wants to pay off the student loans, free colleges. This is not good for the business environment. So it is going to hurt the markets. It is going to hurt, businesses and people that they're not going to spend as much. So it's going to hurt our economy. Now, one thing we have to remember, if he does get elected, we still have the House and the Senate. So perhaps he would not have as much power if it's kind of still a mixed group. We have a Republican Senate, maybe a Republican House or Democrat. He can't do everything he wants to do, but it's not going to be positive, I believe, for the economy.
Okay, let's shift gears. The coronavirus. You talked about hurting the markets. The markets are tanking on this coronavirus. How is that working across the board?
Well, actually, what I'm looking at is that I looked at how bad this is going to be, and I looked at the mortality rates. And if you're 50 years old, the mortality rate is 1.4%. Now, if you're between 40 and 50, it drops all the way down to 0.4%. So a lot of this is being overblown, concerned about it, the unknown and so forth. We actually looked at it on Friday, and traders do something funny. They don't like to hold long during the weekend. Well, we had a 1,000-point drop, but it recovered up to a drop of about 350 on Friday. I think next week, I'm not seeing any really bad news coming out. I think next week we could see the reversal, perhaps a 500-point, maybe a 1,000-point gain one day, because it seems to be it's kind of dying down a little bit. So, and when things go down that quickly, sometimes it can snap back and come back up.
Everything's on sale.
Well, everything's on sale, but you got to be careful what you're buying, because there's some bad things out there that are not going to snap back.
Exactly.
You got to buy the good companies, the banks, the insurance companies, the stuff like that.
All right. You got any seminars coming up?
Actually, we do. I'm glad you asked. We have one coming up on Thursday, March 12th in Scripps Ranch at 6:30. It's an evening workshop, and I'd like to see everybody there. Go to our website, smartinvesting2000.com.
You'll learn a lot.
Thank you.
Here in Fiat. All right. Brent, great to see you.
You too.